to click it here. Yeah. Lucky I did that. Woo. Do. All right, looking like the camera is on and rearing. How's it sound like on here? Gonna do a little test of some music. Just make sure we can hear something coming through. Let's do Making Beans as a test. So what you're hearing here is Making Beans by Able and the Wolf, by my good friends AbleKraft and Sir Spencer.
It's a better way to be. Let's do it. I live in a hole in a tree. Sky above me's on screen I need. And all these people sure were nice to me when they dragged me down, tore me up, and ran me out of steam. Now I don't wear no underwear and no one calls me late. 'Cause upstairs I'm busy making beans.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And all these people come to see.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, AbleKraft and Sir Spencer, for letting me play some music here whilst we're doing this sort of special episode. I'm going to kick it off right in a minute. Let me just make sure, see if there's anyone in the chat as well. Not at this particular moment, but I'll write a question here. Is the music industry unfair to artists? As a kicking off point for discussion. Cool. Okay, I think I'm about ready to kick this bad boy off. And I'll be explaining very shortly why it's just me on here at the moment and there is no Wani. Okay, I think that is all sweet and set up. I've got that rolling. I've got this. Don't have anything silly showing up on my screen. I'm gonna kick this off. Let's do this.
We all can be mortals, capable of mistakes. The journey's not here to be agonized upon.
There we go. Everyone, welcome to another Mere Mortals musing session. I am one of your hosts, Kyron, and on the other mic we have nobody, because it's just me here today. So yes, this is definitely going to be a different musing session. So just for those who are joining in for the first time, Musings is a session where usually Juan and my co-host Juan and myself talk about a particular theme, a topic that one of us chooses, and we riff on that, have a deep conversation with a lighthearted touch. Unfortunately, today it's going to be a monologue with a lighthearted touch because there's not going to be too much discussion going on. Although there might be a little sneaky DJ set thrown in if you're feeling lucky and if you're listening in to this point. So I'll start off with, I suppose, a little bit of brief news and some updates and things like that. First of all, Juan, yes, is not here today. He's feeling sick. He told me this morning that he's feeling marginally improved from yesterday, but that is not much marginally improved from death. So he is, sleeping as we are speaking right now because he's just not in a good place, and so it's no fair forcing him to come here and give you a subpar Mere Mortals experience. So that's one of the things. Luckily for you, I chose the topic for this week, so I know exactly what I'm talking about, and probably actually Juan might not have been able to add too much to it. So it's sort of turned out okay on that. And funnily enough, this is getting into one of those things where you almost speak it into existence. So if you check out the episode that I've got coming out, hopefully this Thursday, fingers crossed, but I'm not sure how much time I'll have to do the full editing. But I chatted with Sir Spencer. So he is, I'll get into that soon. But one of the things I was saying to him was, if at one point Juan or I just fell off the bandwagon, had personal stuff in our lives going on, we've sort of agreed to the other person that, you know what, you can take over the Mere Mortals channel, brand, whatever it is that we've got going on here, and do with it as you like. And this has never happened before. This is the first time in 306 episodes that one of us hasn't been able to rock up. So there you go. It's almost like I spoke his illness into existence. And if you remember, I actually was feeling sick myself the other week. So, my sickness wasn't making me feeling like death. So either Juan has gotten a different illness, a different virus or something from elsewhere, or the most likely scenario is that he is just a gigantic pussy and that we were feeling the same thing, but I was still able to continue on. So there we go. Another little factor that you might want to think about, a little news while I'm doing this section here is the Mere Mortals book reviews. So the Mere Mortals book reviews, we've been doing those for probably almost as long as the main Mere Mortals channel. So probably just take off 6 months roughly, I would say. And that's been a consistent, used to be twice a week. Now it was for the past 7, 8 months, 9 months maybe. It's been once a week. And I can probably tell you that we're probably going to drop that back to roughly fortnightly because my reading schedule is just, I'm reading so much less nowadays. Part of that is because I'm adding in more Mere Mortals stuff, so more focusing on this main channel, I guess. But then also part of that is because, I've just had other things going on in my life. I could have added in, I suppose, a book review of a book I've already read in the past because I've got a catalog, hundreds of books, and with reminders because I have a big book review sheet that I've set up since 2013. So it would be possible for me to just do that and give you a review of a book I've previously read. But one, I don't think that will be as great a review as it is when it's fresh in my mind and can give you that sort of real direct impact. And if you've seen a couple of the reviews, for example, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, recently I did it with Influence by Robert Cialdini, as well as The Trial by Franz Kafka. I just don't think those reviews were as good as I could have created. The other one as well is that I don't think the book reviews are... they're not the big draw in, I suppose, to this channel. It's sort of secondary thing, and spending time and energy on sort of stuff that's I don't think is really going to help to the maximum is probably best to leave that to the side. Now, the hilarious thing is that channel is just about to tick over to 1,000 subscribers. And that's the very moment where it's like, yeah, let's cut it back to almost nothing. So such is life, such is life. But that's enough talking there, Karen. Let's get on to the topic for today. So decentralized music. Why have I chosen this topic? Well, I suppose this has been coming up a lot in podcasting 2.0, for example. So the more that project progresses, the more use cases we're sort of seeing of how it can revolutionize not only podcasting, but also industries outside of this. So this is talking about potentially putting documentaries on, potentially, I've been saying this a while ago, but what they're creating there and the systems and the incentives that are being created is probably one of the things that's come closest in my mind to becoming a YouTube killer. If I was YouTube, I'd maybe be looking at what's going on and being like, ooh, maybe we should get on top of this and be wary, I suppose, of what's going on there, because this drive towards more open, I suppose the ability to connect directly with your favorite creator is what's wanted. People want this. And through podcasting 2.0, the technology and the apps, applications, and the people are starting to conglomerate, and it's starting to look like, oh, okay, many industries can be changed here, and for the better. I hope. I personally have seen that with podcasting 2.0, and I don't see why this can't carry on to others. So let's focus in on the music industry, for example, and I'll give you my sort of perspective from the outside, what I have sort of seen from it and what I've heard from musicians, and just by and large, my general opinions. Now, I'm not an industry insider. I am not a musician myself, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But I think these are relatively uncontroversial statements. So let's just dive into maybe what some of the problems are. So from what I can tell, one of the big problems is getting paid as a musician and being able to create a lifestyle from that, and the, I suppose, predominance at the moment of a huge amount of middlemen in that industry. And so if we're looking at, there's a bunch of examples you can bring up with this, such as Taylor Swift not owning her own music, Kanye West, pissing on his Grammys because he was unhappy with like the contract and was basically talking about it as a joke. Britney Spears' estate owning her things, not being able to really use music in a sort of DJ format or something like that unless you have the proper licenses. But those things are extremely hard to get, extremely costly, and it's kind of ridiculous that a small person can't perhaps play the music as part of their podcast, and their podcast is only maybe getting like 10 views, yet that is still somewhat being clamped down upon, and you'll never be able to really be able to use that music because of the incentives, the structures aren't there for me as like a small independent podcaster to be able to like play a song from my favorite band, let's just say Gorillaz, and there's no way that I could pay them for that, and there's no way that that whole process can go, I guess, for example. So Now, what can be done about this, I guess, and this is where we're getting onto music 2.0. Decentralized music is probably a better term. Check out the interview, the conversation I had with Sir Spencer, which is coming out hopefully this Thursday. But that'll be conversation number 75, I believe. And we talked a little bit, a lot about what he's creating and why he's spending so much time looking at decentralized music, perhaps creating one of the very first apps for it, why as an artist he went down this route. And we'll just take it from there, I suppose. So I'm trying to think, I guess, about where I really want to start off with this. So we've sort of identified the problem, I guess, which is now there's many other problems as well. But I'm just going to stick with the middlemen taking huge chunks of slices from the pie, and unnecessarily, because this, you could have argued back in the day, hell yeah, you needed to have many people involved in the process of getting your music distributed to a huge audience, because how would you do that? In the era, let's just say the radio era, you needed to have the infrastructure, the recording studio to be able to create it, to be able to play this on certain radio stations. So you needed to have all of that infrastructure in place and all of that going on. In the TV era, now you needed to have the visual component. So you needed to create a music video. So you needed to have people getting paid for the video, for the distribution of that, getting that out onto MTV, the advertising for that, all of those sort of things. What I would argue now is that we're now in the era where, one, you can get a piece of music for essentially the act of getting it. I'm sorry, and I forgot to mention physical copies of this. So how does the CD or the vinyl get into the record store? How does the record store needs to get their cut? The logistics of moving large quantities of CDs from the distribution factory in, I don't know, wherever, and moving that to densely populated areas, and then also across the country to the small towns and things like that. Huge amounts of effort, energy needed to be expended for a musician to play something on their guitar, and then for that same sounds and vibrations in the air to be able to reach the eardrums of the consumer. You needed a whole suite of things going on. Thankfully, nowadays, we don't need that with the invention of the internet, of peer sharing, with the Moore's law creating amazing computer graphics and the ability to transfer data seamlessly through the air for a fraction of a cent or whatever, however much it costs, just for the electricity to really have the computer turned on. There is no need, there's no cost, I guess, in getting that from musician playing something, recording it just in front of this, like I could be now, ding, 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 recording that, and then having that sent through to someone who wants to hear about it. And the discovery mechanisms, I believe, are also there. So, now we have tons of different ways for you as an independent small person to be able to use social media, to use the virality of TikTok, of Instagram, of Facebook, of all of these different methods of putting out your music. And you can put it on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, and that, so there's no need for all of these middlemen anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. So how can this change, and how can podcasting 2.0 change this? Well, the idea has been floated to perhaps change the traditional format of you're getting a CD and it's being, how do you access that, I guess. And so nowadays there's the streaming services, so like Spotify, places like that, through Apple, you can download it in that, and there's a bunch of different other ones called Bandcamp and things like that. I'm not too well aware of them, but essentially the ability is now all set in place where you can get your music directly to your listener. Now, how can the listener then repay you and give you value back for that? That's the tricky part, and that is where things are getting solved with decentralized music, or music 2.0, whatever name you want to call it. And the basic idea is you put your music in an RSS feed, sort of like you do for a podcast, which is essentially a list of instructions. You've got your music uploaded onto a server somewhere. The RSS is a list of instructions of how different podcasting apps and hopefully in the near future music apps can access those songs, like where to go, how to play it, give information on who created this song, what are the details of the chapter, i.e. the song of the album, how can you play this in the format that the artist wants it to. All of these ideas are being thrown out, and not only thrown out, but they're being put into practice as well. So over the past couple of months, I have been following a couple of cool people, namely AbleKraft and Sir Spencer. So I'm just going to jump onto my screen now and change this so you can sort of have a little look-see at some of the what exactly they've been doing. So they've had this show called AbleKraft, and it says music production with avant-garde distribution. And basically, these two guys got together. When was the first episode kicked off? If I go to the very bottom here, on the 16th of the 7th, 2021. So that's in, I think that's August of 2021. So not even a year ago. And they basically were saying, like, look, we want to be the first ones to do this. So I've sort of followed them through this journey as they were talking about creating their music, how they were going to set up the RSS feed, how they would include chapter artists. So people, they would hire some people, I suppose, to become part of their process and create an image for the song. So I guess you'd call it the album art, if you wanted to put it that way, or the song art. And they eventually released their main recording, their album, I guess you'd call it, called Stay a While by Able and the Wolf. And they released this on Christmas of 2021. So it took them, 4 months, roughly 4 or 5 months to record a whole set of songs, put this all into an RSS feed, and then release it out into the wild using podcasting 2.0 apps and as their main basis, more as a trial. This is how it can be done. So I might even play one of their songs now. I've asked them to do this, and the cool thing is you can actually watch me do this and see how the whole process works, because they will be getting paid as this actually happens. So I am now in one of the cool new podcasting 2.0 apps called Curocaster. If I go to the little Curo cabinet here, they've got podcasts. I haven't lined up or queued up any at the moment, but you can see music here. And now it might surprise you, but there is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different albums at the moment, which are listed as music in using this method. And Stay a While was the second of these, with Talk On 7, which is Dave Jones's band. Dave Jones was on one of the conversations as well, if you wanted to check that out. And Stay a While was the second one to get released. So I'm actually just going to play you one of their songs at the moment. I actually really like this one, and it was, if you tuned into the stream right at the start, you'll hear this. But this is going to become part of my DJ set. So tune in, enjoy this, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
When you're busy making beans, upstairs I'm busy making beans, and I'm still preoccupied. Do you know what I mean? And all these people come to see. Let's stir the pot some more. It's a better way to be. Stir it. Sure were nice to me when they dragged me down, tore me up, and ran me out of state. Now I don't wear no underwear, and no one calls me late. 'Cause upstairs I'm busy making beans, and I'm still preoccupied. Do you know what I mean? And all these people come to see.
There we go. So that was Making Beans by Abel and the Wolf from their album Stay a While. And there's a couple of things I really want to highlight to you guys here, because if you weren't checking out the screen, if you're not watching this live on YouTube or as a playback on YouTube, I want to just explain what was going on there visually. So one, they had the album pop up. I went to the album itself, click Stay a While, and then there's a whole bunch of different tracks here I could choose from. So Making Beans, Willow Brown, Like Wine, Stay a While, Maps of Home, One Christmas, and Stay a While Reprise. And I chose Making Beans. You can see that there are different chapter images for all of these. So i.e. different song images, artwork for each of these songs, which is very cool. So Making Beans, for example, has a brownish, reddish, orangish background with a person who rocking out with a guitar, and their head is a pot of beans. When I clicked on it and played it, there was the screen itself could pop up, and as I was playing it through, the transcript, which was they've attached as part of it, was showing the lyrics that were popping up. Very cool. How often have you wanted to know the lyrics of a song as you're singing it, and it's like one of those ones where it's sort of like blah, 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 and maybe the artist sings it in a particular way and you just can't really get it, or maybe it's a song like Leona Lewis's Bleeding. What was it? Bleeding in Love, I think, or I used to think it was Bleeding in Love, and it was actually Believing in Love or something like that. So all of these sorts of things are very cool popping up. And as I was listening to this whole song, which went for 3 minutes and 7 seconds, I was streaming 5 Satoshis a minute to them as they were doing this. Because I particularly enjoyed it, I clicked on the boost button here, and I sent them through 10,000 Satoshis with a message attached. And that was saying, thank you guys, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for allowing me to do this on your DJ set. I did actually check with them beforehand, which as the current amount is $2.76 in Australian dollars. And as I was doing all of this, it was sending these Satoshis through to the artists themselves. Bam, direct. How fucking cool is that? So Spotify, you listen to your favorite artist on there, and they're getting, I believe it's like $0.0001 or something for every play that you get. Now, the coolest thing that is happening here is not only am I streaming it directly to the artist, but they can choose exactly who they want that streaming amount to get to go to. So probably all up with my 5 Satoshis a minute, I probably sent through close to about $3. Let's just say that. Now, as I boosted them, if I go into the actual details of this, I can see where all of these Satoshis are going to. So not only does it go directly to them, but they get to choose. And so, for example, here, if I look in this, I can see that a bunch of different cuts have gone to different people. So 100 went to lnpay.co, which is the wallet, which was Curiocaster uses for this. 4,750 went to Sir Spencer, who is one of the artists on this. Another 4,750 went to Abel Kirby, one of the other artists. And then 100 sats went to the Podcasting Index, because they help create all of this tech and making it go directly. They're the ones who help all the background tech let me able to do this. And then there was 300 sats that went to Curiocaster, so the actual platform that I tuned in on this. Now, I'm not sure if something is missing here, but they were also talking about how they would include the artists who created the chapter art, the image, the song artwork. You can see I'm still having struggles saying this in the correct manner because I've got my podcasting brain on, but this is something completely different. This is music. This is music that is being played through a podcasting medium. So it's sort of in this in-between stage at the moment. And to finish that thought I was saying, so the person who created this artwork, they can also get a cut of this as well. Now, imagine if now these were just two guys who were sort of doing it, in their home recording studios, doing it sort of without all of the amazing bits and bobs and those huge recording studios and things like this. But imagine now if someone who was a little bit bigger came along and they said, this is really great, but I also need to make sure the production engineer gets paid. I need to make sure that the person who let me borrow their really expensive guitar gets paid. I need to make sure that my best friend, who is an evangelist and has been working hard behind the scenes promoting my band to people and showing my music and things like this, I need to make sure they get paid. Well, you know what? You can do that. You can create a contract. You can say, all right, when this gets released, we're going to write it in code. We're going to say, hey, I want 5% to go to the production engineer. I want 20% to go to me as the artist. I want 10% to go to the drummer because he didn't put it in as much effort as I did, but he still contributed a lot. I want 2% to go to my friend who's been really helping out, and you divvy it up all the way to 100, and then every time someone plays the song or sends in a boost, these amounts get automatically split up and sent to each individual person. There's no fucking around. There's no one, there who's collecting all the money and then goes, all right, I'll divvy it out to the drummer. But you know what? He's been a bit of an ass to me recently, so I'm going to give him slightly less than what he deserves. And, I guess I'll take my cut because I'm doing all of this hard work, divvying out all this money. No. None of that BS, none of that crap. So this was, I suppose, like a real life example right now, right here, of how an artist can get a direct contribution from someone who's listening in, i.e. me, the consumer, me, the guy who's like, fuck yeah, stay a while, Able and the Wolf, those guys are fucking awesome. I want to listen in, and I want to make sure that they're getting an appropriate amount for that. So not only was it a choice by me to send in how much I wanted to, this is where I guess you could say that the music industry might have some problems with this, because there's no guarantees, and not everyone is going to tune in and listen and pay. It's more subjective, but that's I suppose a separate point which I'll get onto in a little bit, because that's a little bit more nuanced and could be one of the reasons why it might not work, but also I've got some strong arguments as to why that is already the case. And so before we get onto that section, I suppose, I'm going to get into some Boostagrams and thank some people for helping support this show, which allows me to help support my favorite podcaster and continues this fun sort of money cycle going around. Now, I haven't brought all of this up as of yet because I'm doing all of this myself. So if you can give me a second as I bring it up. Here we go. So we have a boost from, what's the date today? The date is the 12th. So if I go back to the portion over here, we've got a boost coming in from June 7th, 2022. Sorry, I might have missed out this one. So from Dave Jones on June 6, 2022. He says, next time you guys visit the States, come down here to Alabama, and we will show you some Southern hospitality. And he sends through a rush boost to 1112, sent using Customatic. Thank you very much, Dave. Mate, when I travel in the future, I plan to do a long travel, and I really hope that I'll have some sort of reason to be going through the US, because I'm not sure I'd go particularly there for myself. Like there's not the intrinsic draw for me to go there, but if I'm going anywhere near it, you can bet your ass that I'll be heading your way, because I would love to do that. I would love to meet you in person, mate. That would be so cool. We've also got another one here. So this is sent using a day later. We're from Mr. Brando Sellers, he of the Sleek podcast, SLIEK podcast. And he says, good luck on your goals, fellas. 1, 2, 3, 4 sats sent using Curiocaster. Hey, thank you very much, Brando. You're very cool. I'm actually going to be doing your show as the next one on the next Value for Value podcast. So look out for that, mate, and you'll definitely see it because I'll be boosting you. And then finally, we have a big boost sent from Petar the Slav. As the French say, it's time for le boost. 69,420 sats sent using Fountain. Sorry, Peter, I don't actually have all the le boost things up here with me at the moment. But mate, dude, I'm really appreciative of that, man. Thank you so much, Peter. He's our biggest supporter, and there'll be some cool stuff coming soon where we can show you exactly who is on top of the leaderboard and who is really helping to support us as we move through this journey of podcasting 2.0 and hopefully decentralized music, also known maybe as Music 2.0, but we need to get our naming sorted because that stuff's hard to get all together. I might even go here into the couple of the comments just as I'm finishing up. So I'd asked basically as a kicking off point for discussion, is the music industry unfair to artists? Mr. Joey Broadshoulders says he has no clue, but his gut feeling is unfair because a lot of industry plants, and he puts those in quotes, such as Kid Laroi, Lord, Billie Eilish, sort of get put up to the spotlight, and great bands such as Block Party and The Presets, who in his opinion are far more talented but didn't get a fair go because of lack of financial backing. Liam F also says, I believe you can do this via sampling software. So that must have been in response to me saying, I don't know how I can use that. He said, I need to do a bit of doing your own researching to be a bit more precise, but I'm pretty sure you can do this with normal sampling software. I think they break it up into 30-second segments. I can actually shed some light on that. This is a sort of common myth going around the podcasting world where as long as it's less than 30 seconds, you can play samples of songs. You can play 30 seconds of a song in your podcast and everything is good. That is incorrect. If your podcast is big enough and it's making money, they will either ask for a cut of that money or they will clamp down on your ass hard. No, that is incorrect, at least in the podcasting world. And as far as I'm aware of, you can't, because then anyone could just play on an advertisement, for example, which are all roughly 30 seconds. You could just play any music and that should be all good. So no, it's much more complicated than that. And you know what? We'll even get into some of the complexities of a couple of other things I've written down. So number one is I've heard of this sort of secondhand. So this is not knowledge that I particularly know. But I believe one of the reasons that it is extremely hard is because there's so many people trying to get so much money from it that there's different people that you have to go to get samples. So, for example, if I wanted a song from Taylor Swift, it would depend on which song it was. Was it her original recording? Was it the remaster? If another artist such as Deadmau5 remixes it and plays it out on his channel, am I then allowed to listen to that? What happens? Who should I be getting the rights from? Should it be from Deadmau5 or should it be from Taylor Swift? There's so many different ways, and so this complexity just goes on and on and on, and there's different branches that you need to go to, and you have to make sure in your jurisdiction that you're abiding by this set of rules, but there's a complementary set of rules that you also need to be aware of. So from what I can tell as an outsider looking in, it appears that it's just extremely complex, and so there's, especially if you're a small artist, you might not care. You'd just be happy that someone is playing your music. But as you start to grow up and go up the levels and your art becomes more refined, and you're starting now to have to put out serious outlay to get good equipment, to hire the recording studio, to spend those grueling monotonous hours with the other bandmates, getting it exactly right, getting all of your mixing and mastering right. It becomes more complex in that sense, yet it doesn't seem that the complexity on the level of the infrastructure is helping solve that complexity. And you can just look at it by artists not getting a fair go of it. What do you think would be reasonable for an artist to get paid? 90 cents on the dollar? It's not that. It's like 1%. Or at least it's very much lower down. And this is why you hear about artists making the most profit for themselves when they go on tour, and they need to go on tour because this is where they can sell their merch, directly to their fans, because they're fucking right there with their fans, and they've got a friend helping out selling t-shirts and mugs and CDs and vinyls, and they don't have all that fucking infrastructure of the huge conglomeration of the recording industry and lawyers and people saying, no, but this sample needs this and this and this and this. So this is where it's getting to, like, maybe the correct way would be decentralized music, where you can decide for yourself who gets to get paid, how much they get to get paid, and there's also no fucking around with this can't get played on the TV because you use the F word in it. Fuck that. Well, I'm gonna swear as much as I want, and I'll put it up in an RSS feed which I controlled, which is connected to servers which I control. It depends how deep you want to go to this, but at least more control than the artist has nowadays. And I can put that out, and I can just say to all of my fans, hey, go to any of these music apps. You can choose where you want to. So at the moment, you're pretty much restricted to maybe YouTube Music and Spotify. You know what? Go to any of these blossoming music apps. Maybe this music app will be more suitable for long albums, and it's got features which are enabled you to just play an album, put your phone down like I did the other week when I was painting, and it will just continually cycle through different songs, and it will maybe be better in that sense. Maybe you'll have another app which is better for discovery. So if I really like Tool, it'll give me tons of suggestions of other bands which are like Tool and which are also doing this sort of method. So this is where you can get into the real cool stuff of, I can get to choose my app as well. I get to choose how I listen to my music. So no, I'm not just restricted to listening to it through a gramophone or via a vinyl, or now I can play it only in the CD in my car. Oh, now I have a Walkman. Oh, now I have an iPhone. Oh, now I have AirPods, so I don't even have that fucking dangling wire. Oh, so we've decentralized the where of music, where and how you can listen to it. Now we're getting, the where of it. Now we're getting into the sort of nitty gritty how on the more software side of things. So this is where, you know what? I can listen to it on an app that kicks ass, where I am happy with the sort of distribution amount of how much the app itself is taking. So if you've got an application which is charging 95%, like sort of Spotify does, you know what? Maybe I'll go to one which only charges 5% or 2.5%, because then I know that the artist I'm supporting is getting a much fairer go of it, and I'm more happy with that sort of level. So this is getting into, I guess, like the open source software sort of things, so all the benefits that come through that, and why perhaps you would want to have a more decentralized music, because this is going to create just better incentives all around. Now, this isn't the only particular way this can be done. I have been doing some research, not only in the podcasting 2.0 world and how that could help out, but I also have been looking at some of the other ways. And so NFTs seem to be a popular one, and that's the idea that I can, if I buy an NFT of an artist, now it doesn't need to be of their song. It could just be a project that they've created. Hey, I've got this NFT project for perhaps my next album. And for every one of you who buys one of these 1,000 NFTs, I'll give you, I'll set aside 20% of the future sales of this, i.e. like royalties, and you can each get 1/1000th of this 20%. So you are helping to provide some upfront costs, upfront money for them to be able to go to the recording studio and do things like that. And then They go do that, and then you've got sort of set in stone, written on the blockchain, okay, this is how the money will get through. This is where it gets kind of iffy, because once again, you're going to now be relying on the artist to be very truthful with how much money they get in, and then how much they allocate to you, based off of that 1/1000th of the 20%. So this is where the podcasting 2.0 music, decentralized music, is a little bit better, because it's direct. There is no other middleman. So the problem, I guess, with those sort of ideas is, okay, this NFT idea is cool, but how is this getting paid? Like, how is this working still? Because maybe you just say, okay, the NFT is the song. So if you buy the song is an NFT, and that portion of money that goes through is sort of the equivalent of you going to Apple Music and buying, a 99-cent song or whatever it is. I haven't actually done anything like that for a long time. And who actually does do that? Because that is a pretty good question, because from everyone that I know, they stream. They stream music. So going back to this method of paying for an individual song, perhaps it could work. And for anyone who's doing that through NFTs, I applaud you and hope it works like that. But I sort of have the feeling that streaming is here to stay. And so this is where the decentralized music of being able to stream Satoshis as I'm directly listening for every single time that I listen, you know what? I think that might conform a bit to how people consume music now, more consume music nowadays. So once again, the NFT idea, I think there could be something in that, but how it will actually work and the incentives, and is it actually going to cut out middlemen? I haven't seen anything per se that's jumped out at me. I know people such as Chris Dixon, who used to work at Andreessen Horowitz, which was a big VC firm that funds a lot of crypto-related things. I know he was saying they had helped to fund a couple of startups, or fund a couple of projects that were working on this exact thing of using NFTs in a music type way. But if I had to put my bets on something, I would put my bets on the decentralized music using the streaming across the Lightning streaming across the Lightning network, and by using the RSS feeds, putting the instructions for your music into there, how the music should be played, where it can be accessed. That, I think, is probably the way to go. Now, there could be other sorts of things. I remember listening to Gary Vee talking with creators about this very topic, and there's a huge interest in basically every sort of way. Creators are very interested in, how can I get paid better than what's currently going on, because I'm getting shafted. Like, it's just not working. So there was a link to that, but it's going to be very difficult for me to find right at this moment. The other last thing I wanted to add was on this very topic, when I was listening to a recent Podcasting 2.0 episode, Adam Curry was talking about this very topic. They dove deep into it. And if you want to listen in particular, I can tell you exactly what episode it was. So if I go over to here and type in Podcasting 2.0, it was episode... Ding, ding, ding. Here we go. Episode 88, episode 87. Free range and unsupervised is what they were talking about in there. So if you want to go find that was released on 28th of the 5th, 2022. And basically in there, Adam, who used to be a VJ for for MTV. That was how he sort of became really well known. Before that, he was a DJ in Amsterdam and was doing pirate radio and things like that. So he has been in the music industry a long time. So this gives a little bit of credence to everything that's going on here. It's just not Kyron coming up with some random bullshit and saying, "Oh, this is going to change everything." No, there's people who have actually been in this industry for a long time talking about it, and he is still very wary of the legal consequences of people ripping off songs and doing covers. So this is just for this stage. So I've laid out the sort of ideal long-term goal, which is every artist can directly put their music up in exactly the manner they want it to, and their fans can listen in however they want to. Before I forget on this point, one of the critics, you could say, the negatives to this, you could say is, oh, but you don't have to, all of these things are accessible without paying any Satoshis. So I could listen to the band's music and not even pay. 100%, you can do that. Now, this is getting, I guess, to the advertising model because I ask you, okay, but aren't you somewhat doing that now when you listen on Spotify? Aren't you somewhat doing that now if you listen to it on YouTube? So how often are you actually supporting your favorite artist? Probably not that often, to be honest. And if you look deep down inside and say, okay, yeah, I am supporting my favorite artists. I send them through an amount by buying their merch, or I do this by going onto their website and they've got a donation button or something like that, or go into their concerts. Okay, well, you can just do this now via a method which is much more clean and goes directly to them. So you're supporting them even harder than you were previously. And the beautiful thing about this is you get to choose the amount. So say you want to support them, but their album's $10 and you just don't have $10, or you don't believe the music is worth $10. That's fine. You can give them a little bit less. What if you actually very much value it and you would give them $100 for it? Well, you can now do that because you get to choose the amount. So this is where I guess you would say the idea that it won't be as dependable in a way, because you are going to have to rely on the consumers, and you're going to have to, I would even say it makes it even better, because now you're going to be incentivized to really create fucking awesome music so that people have no choice but to feel guilty if they don't pay. Now, this gets into the whole value for value model. I won't blab on about that here, but there's plenty of other reasons as to why the value for value model is preferable to the advertising. But yeah, I won't talk about that too much here. What Adam was saying though was he is if people, for example, started abusing this method, I just take a bunch of Metallica's albums, I put them up in an RSS feed, and people start using that, listening to that, and I'm collecting sats for stuff that I haven't even done, for Metallica's works. That is definitely a problem, and that is something that will have to be worked on to figure out, okay, like how can we genuinely tell that this is the correct artist, for example, that this isn't just a knockoff of someone taking previous work and putting them up online. Now, for future stuff, this is kind of easy because you just say, this is what the album is called. I'm releasing it right now, and no one's, that the fact that you put it out proves that you're the one who is doing it. So that's a problem, I guess, that you could see with this system is, okay, but people will, through the sort of anonymity in a way, that the fact that you can do this all online, people will abuse the system, and no doubt they will try and do that. There are some sort of safeguards you could keep in place, for example, using the lock tag. If you are the artist and you say, look, this is the only feed that I want, people won't be able to rip this off, because if there's the general consensus, the general standards are set for every music app that comes up, they decide, oh, okay, I'm only going to take the feed directly from this source, i.e. this person is putting it up on Buzzsprout. okay, I'm only going to link directly to Buzzsprout, and that is the genuine source of this new music that's coming out. Now, what needs to be put in place before all of this happens? A shit ton of things. There needs to be a real easy onboarding way for musicians to be able to do this, because they shouldn't need to know how to use an RSS feed. They should need to know how to play music and guitar, but they shouldn't need to know all the intricacies of putting their music up as an album or something like that. So you need that. You need obviously podcast music apps, not podcast apps, because listening to music, whilst similar in many ways, i.e., if you go to YouTube Music or Spotify, and you go to a podcasting app, hell, even in Spotify, you can go between the two. It's very similar. There's a player, there's a screen, you press the play button, you've got a sort of skip button, you can drag along the bar to where you want to go in the song. All of these sorts of things. It's got a timer of how much time is left on the song or how much is left on the podcast. All of these things are very similar in many ways, but the background stuff needs to be a bit better, i.e., this is the next optimal song to play. This is how you can create a really cool playlist. This is how I can mix and match my favorite artists. Obviously, you need the artists themselves to jump on, but this is where it's that lock tag thing, that sort of jumping, a new artist comes on, and so there's more incentive now for people to create better apps, and because there's better apps, more artists come on. So it's this sort of jumping, sliding scale that goes up and up. Now, those I think were my main thoughts of what this is, how it could, how I think it would just revolutionize the industry and make everything better for everyone. Apart from the people who are riding cruisy now at the moment and are just, collecting money for barely doing any work, or collecting money from other artists' work. And they should have a bad time, because that's bullshit. And it shouldn't be as, the incentive shouldn't be there for free riders or people who are unnecessarily making things more difficult or harder, and limiting growth, limiting the ability for someone to create a living from their art. That's BS. So thanks for everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Mere Models, and I really hope you've learned something a little bit new today. I will probably take us out with another thing. I probably should actually, even just before I do that, highlight some of the favorite the current bands that are doing this, so you can go for a taste for yourself and find it out. Before I do that, I'll end off with a couple of comments. So Joey says Urban Dictionary, DYOR, do your own research. Sorry if I didn't mention that. And Liam asked, do you need to preload a wallet full of Satoshis to listen to music, or does it charge like PayPal each play? So basically, yes, you upload some Satoshis into a wallet. I'm going to see if I can do this real time. It's going to be kind of hard, but we'll see if I can do that. So if I go to CurioCaster and I go to my wallet here, let me share this on my screen. So I go to CurioCaster, I've got 79,363 sats here at the moment. If I go refill wallet, I'm going to put in a custom amount. I'm just going to say 1,000 Satoshis. Set custom amount. This creates a QR code. I have my phone here with me, and I already have some wallets with Satoshis sitting in them already. So let's hope and see that this can work in real time. If I go on to, let me try Breeze. Now Breeze has not been working so great for me as of recent, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. So I go onto my phone, I click the button to scan the QR code, I hold it up onto the screen itself. It asks me, you are requested to pay 1,000 sats. I click approve. Hopefully this will jump over onto CurioCaster, but as I said, it hasn't been working super great for me as of late. And then when I go to my favorite artist and I hit the play button, then I can choose the amount with this stream setting. So at the moment, I've got it to 5 Satoshis per minute going through. It's not a huge amount. I'm more of a bigger booster than a bigger streamer. I can turn that down to 0, for example, if I wanted. So if I was listening to some new music and I wasn't sure about it, maybe I wouldn't want to pay them for the moment. So I'd just put that at 0, or I could have that hopefully in a cool app. I could have that as a default. So it's, music I've never played before, put it on 0. My phone says the payment was sent successfully. So if I go over to here, bam, you can see now I'm at 80,353 sats. So that's how you refill a wallet, Liam. Now this is kind of hard. There's 5 steps I've missed out on there. So this is where it gets complex, and you need to be able to maybe have some hand holding. So if you're interested at all and you want to know what it's like to get a wallet with Satoshis in it, I can help you out with that way. I could probably even send some through to you as a test thing. Send through like a couple of dollars worth, and then you can play out with yourself. And then so the question was, do you need to preload a wallet full of Satoshis to listen to music, or does it charge like PayPal each play? So at the moment, it's playing each time I play it. So if I played the full song and it went through, then I went back again and played it again, it would charge me again, I guess, because I'm continuously saying, yes, I want to support this music podcaster as it is at the moment, this musician. Now, if I wanted to just do a one-off one, I could just do a big boost amount, send that through, and keep my streaming at 0, so that every time I listened, it wasn't charging, but I'd done my sort of duty by sending in through a big amount just at one time. So that's another way of doing it. So what's the beauty about all of this is it allows me a lot more control. It allows them control as a musician and artist, because they get to choose how it's divvied up, where it goes to, and it's more direct. And then me as a consumer of the music, I get to say, okay, I don't want to pay each time, because I listen too often and I'll lose track of how much money. I just want to send them, $5 or the equivalent of $5 in Satoshis as a one-time payment, and then I won't feel bad by just bang repeating that album day after day after day after day after day. So you can do it like that if you want. If you're more like me and you want to do, I want to support them each time, but even just a small amount, because it's kind of hard for me to remember, and I prefer being able to write a message. And I didn't even get into the Boostagrams and being able to directly tell your favorite musician about what you thought of them, being able to get better stats and seeing, oh, okay, people really like this type of song. I'll include more accordion, because that was the distinguishing factor in this song. And people were saying, man, that accordion riff was gangster as shit. So yeah, a couple of different things there yeah, man, there's so much stuff. Fuck, I'm excited. There's so much cool stuff. So those are the last little comments there. What I did want to highlight was the artists. So I mentioned that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different songs on here, or albums on here. So we have the Lightning Music Player. This is by Sam Means, and he has a whole bunch of different songs on here. I haven't got his permission to play any, so I'll skip that. Talk On 7, which is Dave Jones's band's metal album, metal band. They've got a bunch of different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks on here. Very cool. I've listened to that before. Some Metallica vibes in there, or at least that's what I thought. Stay a While I've already talked about. Now there's a couple of different albums here by a man by the name of Robert Wiley. And so this is called Out of the Blue, Into the Blue, True Blue. Man, he really likes blue. And Pieces. So there's a whole, he's got a whole bunch of different songs in all of those. So once again, I haven't particularly asked him for permission, but I did ask permission from Signs of New Growth. And these are the guys who helped support us out a lot. If you heard the very intro, their intro is what we use for the musing sessions, and I'm really appreciative of that. They have continually helped support us and allowed us to do that. And when I finally transition this podcast onto go the full route and have this, fully podcasting 2.0 compliant. I'm about halfway there at the moment, but still a couple of pieces I need to put in place. I'm sure Juan will agree with me that we should include them as part of a split. Now, how much that will be, that's sort of kind of up to us and them to decide. So if they want to put their foot down and say, look, you're using our intro music, we sort of demand that you put 10% into the split or 50% into the split. Juan and I would say, fuck off, that's way too much. But we would maybe be willing to do it at X%, because, it's only part of the, it's only 7 seconds worth, and we only use it on musing sessions. So that's only 1 in every 3 of the things that we put out. This is maybe deserving of, I don't know, 0.5% of a split. And then we could maybe negotiate, come to an agreement and say, okay, there's the agreement. And, you could write this in a legal contract if you wanted. You could keep it more friendly, just like we do at the moment. And this is where we could just be like, okay, yeah, you know what, you're helping us out a lot. Thanks for that. And at the moment, he's been totally cool with us just playing it on the song, and has asked me recently if we can include the fact that we use his music as the intro music and put it in our show notes. Yep, 100% I'll do that. But maybe the next step would be to do that as well. So some very, very cool things going on. All of this is just fucking fascinating and exciting. I love it. I really hope you've... God damn, I went for ages considering this is just a solo episode as well. But yeah, thank you for everyone. That's my highlighting of all the awesome things going on in decentralized music, on how the music industry is going to be changing. This is going to be a while away. Stay a while is a good name for the very one of the very first bands, for the very first albums to go up, because you're gonna have to stay around a while for all of this to really hit the next level. But I'm going to take you out with one of the favorite songs that I've come here from Signs of New Growth. You can, if you're watching on YouTube on the live stream, you can see me that I'm going to send them a boost in as thank you for this as well, just like I did to AbleKraft and Sir Spencer. And I'm going to let them take us out. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, to this very special Mere Mortals Musing episode. And I quite enjoyed this. Maybe I'll see if Juan can be sick a little bit more often. Here we go. Signs of New Growth with their song USA.
USA was a gift that was given to me, wrapped up tight on the 6th of January. Nobody knows why corruption came to be. Tell me who the hell shot John F. Kennedy? When we spill our crap in the ocean blue, open your eyes, 'cause it might be you. Living in the USA today, living in the US of A, when nothing's ever cheap like a matinee. Nation's heartbeat flows from the city streets. crossing pastures up rolling hills and peace, looking down from the Statue of Liberty. The pigeons are the angels, they see what they need to see. From the top of the seas to the Empire State, blood is the color of the Golden Gate. When you're living in the USA today, living in the US of A, where nothing's ever cheap like a matinee. See the culture when it draped my soul and took the little boy from me. It sucked the little boy right out of me and stole my youth for all eternity. But brave enough to belt back triumphantly. Servant sweeps the streets and cleans the stalls, and one day learns to lead despite his flaws. History has a way of repeating things. When dialectic blowback is here to ring, partisan is truism, apostasy for the new world breed. When you're living in the USA today, living in the US of A, where everybody's stunned in the wall of gray.
Thank you, everyone. Karen, gonna tune out now, stop the stream. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. You're all awesome.